All right, we welcome our friend Derek Levandowski to the show. Of course, the host of Pinstripe Territory, Yankees podcaster. He's been doing it a ton of times, 67,000 on YouTube. Derek, what is up, my friend? How are you?
Oh, I'm just looking forward to this fun weekend rematch we got going on here.
Oh, shall you and I make a little bit of a bet on that?
Let's do
Do it.
it. Let's go. I'm ready.
All right. All right. I'm going to say just straight up for series win. If the Yankees win, I donate to a charity of your choice, $50. If the Dodgers win, you donate $50 to my charity. Is that
Bet.
fair?
100%. Let's do it.
I would have been the first to say I don't think we're talking about the Yankees enough, Derek. This is a team that has a 7-game lead in the division, the largest division lead. We always give Cashman grief. Let's give him some praise. What's making him so good and kind of running away with things?
You know, Plan B has turned out to be an A+. I mean, the plan was to sign Juan Soto and to probably do something similar like they did last year with Judge in center, Soto in right. They spent that money elsewhere, obviously. Paul Goldschmidt's sitting about 350. He's on pace for, I believe, about 200 hits. Max Fried is pitching like a Cy Young Award winner. And, I mean, Bellinger has really turned it on lately. So right now, the backup plan has made the Yankees, in my opinion, a much more well-rounded team than the one that you guys spent all winter dunking on for not being fundamentally sound and all the problems we had in the World Series. I think you should be prepared for a much tighter baseball team and a much better base running team and a much better contact hitting team as we approach this weekend.
Wait, so you're saying Cashman did a good job? Is that what I heard you say?
I know. I mean, that sound you hear is the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, just, hell freezing over. That crackling noise is me admitting that Cashman did a fantastic job. And by the way, I love the mustache. You got that feel of like the 1970s
Tom Selleck
thing rocking. I love it. I mean, that suits you, man.
I appreciate that. You're not the first person to acknowledge that I wasn't good looking before the mustache, and really it's not hurting anything that was going on. But so Cashman's moves, obviously he took all that money that he wasn't going to spend on Juan and he put it elsewhere. So does this mean the next time Juan comes back to the Bronx, he gets cheered? Because the boos were kind of eyewash because they didn't want him back. Look at what they got in place of him.
Well, I think a lot of Yankees fans still view him, regardless of what happened afterwards, as being kind of a turncoat for going to our city rival for really a small amount of money in the grand scheme of things over what the Yankees offered. I believe it's $5 million, but one less year, so a higher AAV. And saying it was a Mets town, I think that was what really set fans off. And I don't think that they'll ever stop booing him just for that. I mean, Jesus Christ could come back from wherever he is and say it's a Mets town, and he would get booed at Yankee Stadium. It doesn't matter who says it's a Mets town; they're getting booed. And Soto, I'm sorry, you're no exception.
Derek, can I just say this first of all? Can we bring on Alanna at the same time? Alanna, you love the Dodgers, okay? They have a pretty high payroll. You also work for the Red Sox. They have a lot of money. They're kind of like the Cubs. They play cheap, okay? Derek, you root for the Yankees. You do a show about the Yankees. You guys are big markets. $50? $50. That's where we're going. $50 wager. Can we go like at least $100?
I mean, I don't have big league money like you do, Pierzynski, with your Toro toilets and all of the crap that you have in your house and all of these things. I'm happy to do 100. I just didn't want to assume that Derek wanted to do that. I don't even know what his charity of choice is. Mine is my own charity, my own nonprofit. So I didn't want to be assumptive, if you will.
So honestly, Alanna, it's going to be the true dogs versus cats because I'm a cat charity guy. So it's really we're going to be helping animals either way. So no matter who wins, and I'm happy to do $100 because I don't think that the Dodgers are going to win.
Wow. Okay. No problem. Here is the bet. We're shaking
Let's
right
do
here.
It. Let's
$100.
do it.
All right.
$100.
Yeah, that's perfect. Are they buyers at the trade deadline, Derek Levandowski? This squad is obviously headed towards the postseason. What's their biggest need?
Obviously third base has been kind of a shuffle. It would be nice if there was somebody out there, but I don't see an obvious fit. Every team needs pitching. A starting pitcher would be nice, but I'm not sure who you're going to get that's better than what they've got. Will Warren has been fantastic. Over his last month, he has a 2.05 ERA. As I mentioned, Max Fried and Carlos Rodón both dominating. Rodón 6-0 in his last 8 appearances with a 1.27. Max Fried is insane. And you got Clark Schmidt as a potential piece to that playoff rotation. You only need 4 starters in the rotation. So if you go out and get a starter, you're probably getting a depth piece because I don't know who's better than those guys. And you got Luis Gil coming back from injury. We'll see what he can do. I hope he's strong, but coming back from an injury, you never know. So I would say third base would be the spot. But again, I'm not sure who they could go out and get that is a real upgrade. So if I'm Brian Cashman, I'm looking at the bullpen. I want to strengthen the bullpen. I'm looking at teams that have fallen out of it that maybe have an arm that gives you a funky look. Maybe somebody, you don't even need somebody who has insane numbers, just somebody who's a different look, maybe misses some bats, can get some of those middle inning outs, because right now the Yankees are a little bit thin in the bullpen, despite the stats for the bullpen being pretty good. I don't know if the Orioles would make Felix Bautista available if they really fall out of it, but that would be the guy that if I'm Cashman, I'm willing to overpay a little bit, even though it's kind of an in-division trade. They have done that before with Zach Britton. That's the guy I've been promoting on my trade. Cashman, go do it.
Yeah, Felix Bautista, the Orioles are out of it. They've not fallen. If they fall out of it, they're fallen out of it. All right, what about Jazz Chisholm, though, Derek, saying that he's willing to play third? Are you buying that?
I do buy it. You know, we've got DJ LeMahieu back, and he's looked really good defensively at second base, and he's a Gold Glover, but he still isn't hitting very much. I think his swing has looked better than it did last year when his legs were clearly not under him. We've seen him drive the ball with more authority, but it hasn't translated into a lot of stats yet. Over the next week, I guess we'll find out what DJ LeMahieu can do as we approach Jazz's return. As long as Jazz is in the lineup, I don't really care where he plays. Second base and third base, he looked good to me, both spots. I want him to hit a little bit better than he was right before he got injured. He hit all these home runs coming out of the gate with the torpedo bat, and I think he got it into his mind. You know, he had this friendly wager with Aaron Judge about who would hit a more combined home runs and stolen bases. How about who gets on base? How about who sets the table? That's what I want from Jazz Chisholm when he comes back. DJ, I'm comfortable with him at either second or third base if he hits. So I think it's, 6 1/2 dozen of the other, but it is good to have Jazz coming back because he does disrupt the pitcher when he's on base, if he can get on base.
I feel like Carlos Rodón, anytime Cole is out, has stepped up for this team. Do you feel like he is going to surpass Max Fried at some point this year? Max obviously coming in with the new contract, and everybody has a stinker here and there. Max hasn't yet. Is there a chance that Rodon's trajectory that I think it's his last 8 starts, he's been like career best 8 starts. Right. Does he pass Max Fried as the number 1 in this rotation?
It's hard to say. I mean, he has looked tremendous, and you don't see guys rebound the way that Carlos Rodón has. When he first got to the Yankees, he had problems not only with his health. He had a back injury that kind of limited him that first year, gave up a ton of home runs. He had 2 games where he gave up 8 runs in the first inning. There was a game where Matt Blake, the pitching coach, came out to the mound and Carlos turned his back. He had the blow and the kiss incident on the road to some Yankees fans. But last year he committed himself. He got into better shape. I think he got to a better place mentally. He had 2 really great stretches that kind of sandwiched a bad stretch. This year he got out of the gate kind of rough with the 3-run home run ball, in I think 3 of his first 4 starts. And then it's like he just flipped the switch and he's been lights out. I don't know if he's going to pass Max Fried at this point. I don't think that really matters. When the playoffs roll around, I think they'll go with, whoever they feel is the better fit for that matchup. But I just want to say whatever Carlos Rodón has done to adjust is commendable. Not only in terms of his pitching, but his physical fitness. He's lost a lot of weight. He's pitching with more confidence. I wonder if the beard has something to do with that. He just looks like the serial killer that we saw with, the White Sox and the Giants, much more so than we saw the last 2 seasons with the Yankees.
FT fam, you might have a boring, old, crusty, unpretty razor, and it might be expensive. So, AJ, should they consider another option?
Look how cool this is. Look at the color scheme. Look at it. Little sheath to hide the blades when you travel. Works great. I've been using this for a couple weeks now with Harry's. clean, no bumps, no cuts. Works great. And you know the best part? It's a great price, especially if you use the foul territory code, Scott.
That's right. Harrys.com/foul. Guess what? You can also get yourself a no-risk trial. So if you don't like your shave, no worries. It's on Harry's. They're not worried about it. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally, the trial set is $10, but right now, you can get it for just $6 at harrys.com/foul. Use the exclusive link, harrys.com/foul, for a $6 trial set.
The Juan Soto trade is still paying dividends for the Yankees. Trent Grisham has been otherworldly, kind of fallen off a tick now, but does he continue to play well enough that your boo, Jasson Domínguez, loses playing time when there's a situation where they have to choose between the two of them? Or are their paths crossing here where Domínguez is going up and Grisham's coming down?
I think that Grisham is reverting to the mean a little bit, regressing to the mean. I mean, he's not a guy who's ever hit 300 in his career. So when he was hitting 300 for the first month and a half with, a home run every other day, you knew that it just was not sustainable. He has made some adjustments to his stance. He's getting his hands a little bit further away. It looks like maybe either his timing is a little bit off right now, or the league has kind of adjusted, kind of getting in under those hands a little bit more. He's struggling a little bit with the down and in breaking ball, which is something he was really doing a good job hitting early on in the season. Jasson, until he hits left-handed pitching a little bit better, I think he's at risk of losing a little bit of playing time. That's one great thing about switch hitters in general, is you can just plug them in any given day because it doesn't matter who's on the mound, lefty, righty. But he's really, really struggled from the right side. But from the left side, he's got about an 850 OPS. He had the 3 home run game where 2 of the home runs were from the left side. He recently had that walk-off. He was the only player, I think, in Major League history to have a 3 home run game, a grand slam, and a walk-off in the same month. And he did it as a 22-year-old rookie. I do think to a certain extent they are crossing paths. I think Domínguez, while he got off to kind of a little bit of a slow start in his Major League career, is starting to show that potential and starting to transform it into stats a little bit. And look, he's an excellent base runner too. He gives you more than just, the offensive numbers, the power. He's a great base runner, and we know how important that is. We saw it last year. Base running cost him in a lot of situations. And I can't tell you how many times this year I've said, man, that was a great read by Domínguez on the bases, or wow, I didn't think he'd score from first on that double. But the guy can cook on the bases.
Derek, before we let you go, I want to ask you this question legitimately. Do you believe the Yankees are back in the World Series, or do you worry that the Tigers will surpass them?
Well, I do worry about the Tigers. I think the Tigers are probably right now the toughest team in the American League. And Tariq Skubal, I don't know if you guys saw his last outing. I happened to be watching that game live. And it was one of the best games I've ever seen pitched. I mean, it was up there with Kerry Wood in his 20 strikeout game in just terms of stuff. The best stuff I've ever seen live. You're talking about 102 in the 9th inning from a lefty. I can't see beating him twice in a short game series. Now, if you get to a 7-game series, I think anything can happen. And a lot of it depends on who has home field advantage. I would rather not play, 4 games in Detroit. That would, we've seen that not match up well for the Yankees back in, I believe it was 2006, and again in 2012. Look, the Tigers are no joke, and I think you just gotta let this thing play out, and we'll see where everybody is at the end of the year.
One of the questions we had earlier, what are we more surprised about? The Mariners start or the location where the Mariners are in the West, or the Yankees are in the East? Is the American League East not the beast? It's more the American League least this year? Or is it just a little bit of a slowdown and waiting for all the other teams to start to get hot?
Well, what really surprises me is how the Orioles have fallen off. I mean, I thought they were going to be top of the division for a decade when they won 100 games a couple of years ago. Their pitching has fallen off. Their hitting hasn't developed like we thought it would. The Blue Jays always seem to be a team that hovers around 500, and you keep waiting for them to take that next step, and they just haven't. The Red Sox were a team that everybody was very high on this year because of their young talent, but right now they're under 500 and they just lost Bregman. The Rays are always tough, but I don't think that they have what it takes in terms of just talent on their roster right now to overcome the Yankees. So I've been saying the Yankees need to seize this opportunity where they're playing well, and that's one of the reasons why this weekend is so important, to run away and hide. Get a 12 or 13 game lead in the division, and then maybe you can rest some guys down the stretch. You can maybe take it easy a little bit with Luis Gil, not rush him back and have him be at full strength coming into the postseason. Maybe you don't have to be as desperate at the trade deadline and trade your top prospect. But, the Mariners, obviously, we faced them a couple of weeks ago. They played 3 very tough games against the Yankees. They've obviously got good pitching. Their hitting has been better this year. The NL West is always tough. The Astros probably are going to contend with them all year long. But I do think that in terms of the division strength, the East is probably the least competitive. I mean, you look at the Central, you got 4 teams legitimately who could be in the playoffs. Right now, the AL East, it looks like it's Yankees and maybe one other is going to compete.
Derek, what is over your right shoulder? What are all those things over your right shoulder? They look like CDs.
Tchotchkes.
No, we got no. So
no,
these
all the way towards the wall. Towards the wall. Way back.
So I have a Blu-ray collection. I'm a big movie collector, and I'm a very smart investor too. So over the years, I've invested thousands and thousands of dollars in physical media, which I don't use anymore. I might have to sell a few of them to pay off this bet if the Yankees don't come through for me.
$100 to Guidry's Guardian Foundation after the Dodgers take the Yankees at Dodger Stadium.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.